This is a clip from Catch Fire Show. For this and other full episodes, head to www.catchfire.show. We're talking about this at a pivotal point, at least in our century, with the COVID, the novel virus, because not only are we having hard conversations that might emotionally stretch us and push us emotionally, hopefully not apart, but I mean, it's tense.
Mm-hmm.
But then we're also dealing with the virus causing physical distance. So
Right.
We're not able to meet in buildings, schools, movie theaters, churches. Right. And so as you are working with folks that are trying to bring people together and trying to keep a sense of community in these groups that you're leading and your leaders are leading, how do you talk about that, this idea of gathering in the midst of this tension?
Yeah. Before I answer that, if I could just jump back on something that you said, here we are in the midst of this virus. So, we've got distance. That is the problem. But I also say that there's an opportunity, because there's no other time in history where we've been in a position where we can't run away from the topic. The fact that we are home, the fact that everyone's glued to either news or social media or whatever it might be, tracing what's going on with the virus, the fact that we're here, we can't get away from it. So it forces us to have the conversation. So I see it. I see it as a pretty opportune time. And the way that I've been approaching those conversations is I've had to be more present on social media than I've ever been, and quite honestly, than I care to be, because I like to put up a boundary about what I'm taking in, and all this. But it's forced me to use social media in a different way. I've had more phone conversations. Been a part of webinars, obviously Zoom, podcasts, and I'm just taking advantage of any opportunity to use whatever platform that has been afforded to me to have the conversation. If I'm present in the places that are afforded to me, the platforms that are afforded to me, I'm finding that indirectly I'm having a conversation. And that does then lead to a bigger conversation or a more pointed, directed conversation with the individual. So that's how it's been happening for me. It's been good. It's been challenging. There's no doubt about it. It's been hard, but it's been really good. And I see people leaning in.
And so, well, I mean, it might be too early to tell, but are there any hopeful things that have stuck out, or things you've heard in response to the conversation that have encouraged you?
Yeah, I think I would say for the first time, I've been around a long time. So, and this we've been at points like this in the past, but I think for the first time, there's genuine desire to have open, honest conversation together. Would I say that that's across the board? No, I don't think it ever is across the board. But I see more leaning in and more saying we can't do this. We can't address this. We can't combat this and maybe even eradicate this without doing it together. And we're to help you understand what I'm about to say. I think there are 4 components to addressing the racial and socioeconomic tensions that we're facing. One is listening. Probably that's number 2. Number 1 would be lamenting, and that is coming to a place where we can cry out and grieve together. But what it is that we're lamenting doesn't happen without number 2, which is listening. And I see more people taking on a posture of listening than I have ever in the past. I see more people saying, listen, if I'm just listening to media and I'm just watching the news and I'm just listening to, what society says about this, I've got some crazy ideas. But what I want to know is your story. Tell me your story. So you've got the lament, you've got the listening for the story. Out of that comes the learning. Okay, so I would never have understood the fact that there are systems and things like that are still in play if I hadn't heard your story. So I'm learning something, which then propels me to want to learn more. So the reading lists are growing. The conversations out of those reading lists are growing. The I'll put it this way: the right sizing of history is happening. It's not just this kind of glossed over thing. We're seeing both the good and the ugly, and it's from that then the fourth thing, launching. Now what is it that we must act upon to change? And I see that happening together in ways that I've not seen it in the past. It's global. This is a global. I'm having conversations with people from the Netherlands. That's never happened. And some would say, well, yeah, we live in a digital age, so it makes it possible. Yes, that's true. I don't want to deny that or diminish that. But the fact that there's interest globally in having these conversations and saying, we don't want to see this continue. Not just for the US, but for the world.
This is a clip from Catch Fire Show. For this and other full episodes, head to www.catchfire.show.